I was born to drive a 911. I started racing because my brother races. I've always loved cars. I had just fallen in love with Porsches forever. I mean, it's that 911 shape. Always wanted one ever since I was a little kid.
So my dad was one of the founding members of Mosport as we know it today. And as a kid, we used to come out here and do hill climbs in the Volkswagens. And that's, I guess, where motoring came into my life.
We were so far apart in age, because he's 11 years older than I am, that I idolized him. And I'm sure that worship is where a lot of my love for cars comes from.
When I bought the race car, Emily was pretty excited about it. And she said, "Can I come out to the track?" And of course, I'll be there.
He's owned a million different cars since I can remember. And, he had Minis and he had Porsche 356s and just everything. The seeds of that automotive relationship between the two of us were definitely sown when I was very, very small.
About 3.5, 4 years ago, I had a Factory 5 Cobra replica that I had just finished building. And Walt was here with his Mustang. And Walt was impressed with my driving, which to me was a big credit, because Walt's a pretty well-known racer. He said to me, "Andrew, why don't you give the Mustang a try?" A fully prepared race car, and I'll never miss a chance like that. I knew at that moment that I had to have that car. Then Walt, being the smart old cunning man that he is, threw me the bait and he says, "Why don't you drive the Mustang for a couple of races this summer?" And as soon as I got that hook in my mouth, I was done. Walt called me up at Christmas time. He says, "Well, Andrew, you've driven the car 3 times now, and it's at your house. When are you going to send me a check for it?" And I said, "Oh, Walt, I don't know if I should do that." And he says, "Oh, Andrew, you got to. Now you have to buy it. You're hooked." That was it for me. That Mustang was going to be mine. I just loved that car, and I thought, what a great way to get into racing. With a car that Walt Mackay built. The car was fast enough for me. It was far more of a car than I could handle in the beginning. It's a Mustang Fox body, and they were very popular. They're very hard to find now without the torque boxes rusted out of them. Of course, this being a race car, it's well kept, and it's never out in salt. It's bulletproof. It doesn't break. I put brake pads in it once a year, and I change the oil regularly, and that's pretty much it. And it was a factory Ford crate racing motor, a 347 cubic inch. We put a different camshaft in it, and a spacer under the carburetor, and that's really all we did. Everything else is stock, original. We're making a little over 500 horsepower and putting out about 540 foot-pounds of torque. It'll scare me occasionally when I get a little hot. Going into a corner or coming out of a corner and you step on a little too much. There's so much power there. You got to be careful. If you treat it with respect, then it'll look after you. Racing this car has got me to, and I guess it got me right inside, because it's the only thing I've ever done in my life that requires 100% concentration. There is nothing else existing in the world when you're out on the racetrack driving a car. Most of my competition is Porsche, Datsun, Ferrari, old Jaguars. Last season I was first in my class, which was the G class, and I made it to second overall in the club with a Mustang, and that's important to me, and I think I can contribute most of that to discipline reliability.
2 years ago, he decided that I should get more serious and gave me the race license school for my Christmas present. He tried to get me to share the Mustang. First of all, there's a seating issue because our sizes are so different.
She drove it at Shannonville for a weekend, but she had towels and foam shoved in the seat. She wasn't very comfortable driving it. I think it's much better that she's got her own car now. That's her car, and she's just madly in love with it.
So last year I did the Time Attack series, and I was thinking, I'm getting a lot faster. I was turning good lap times with my little street car. And so meanwhile, I'm doing my track days with the Porsche Club and lapping and, learning and taking classes, and he's racing, and I'm thinking, hey, this looks pretty fun.
Here's Emily, my little sister, and the two of us, we spend weekends together here. And last year she was my crew, and she was unbelievably faithful and wonderfully helpful.
So I started looking for a 911, and I had met Ian Perrar last year with that 911, and I was talking to him in the wintertime, and he said, well, why don't you buy it?
Emily co-drove the car that she's driving now last summer in an endurance race.
At one point, I had a quiet moment coming up the back straight here at Mosport, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm living the dream here. And I'm driving a Porsche 911. It's the dream car, the iconic car. I'm on the back straight at Mosport. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's my first race. And I'm just having the time of my life, right? And so I hit the talk button on the radio, and I said to the crew chief, Drew, I said, I'm living the dream, man. I'm living the dream. And all I hear back is, good to know. So the 911 that I bought, it's an 82 SC, originally prepared for racing by Mantis Racing in Oakville for some members of the Porsche Club. And Ian Perrar bought it and turned it into a rally car immediately. He showed up at the June event last year at Shannonville with that car. So the car was, brought back to road racing spec. And I saw it and I just fell in love with it. It's so beautiful with the, the white with the martini livery, and it's the exact, the 82 SC is the shape, the classic shape with the whale tail. It's just gorgeous.
So this weekend right here is Emily's first race weekend. She was very nervous, and I think it's normal to get nervous. I mean, if you're not getting nervous before you're racing, I think there's probably something wrong with your head.
Got in the car, and we were early to the grid, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, why am I so calm? I was almost having a nap before the race. I thought, this is great. I came through 1, and just between 1 and 2, that was when I had that moment where I thought, I was born to drive this car. I know exactly what this car is going to do. This 911 has just got some kind of magic. I don't know, and now I get it, what people talk about. You can just feel it, like you just know when it's going to start to pivot, and you can get on the throttle, and you can just feel the car just settling down and just going.
Emily and I have a wonderful relationship now as a result of all the time we spend together racing, and she's a great help. She's learning an awful lot about machines and preparation. The race is won in the preparation. If you're scrambling around on the racetrack and you got something broken or you forgot to do something ahead of time, you're always behind the 8 ball.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be here without him. He introduced me to Varac. He introduced me to all the people here.
I guess I kind of stumbled into Varac with Walt Mackay because the car that I bought was racing in Varac. But I've since learned through being at the track and watching the GT guys, and they're pushing and shoving and crashing, and I guess I get a really safe, comfortable feeling with the Varac guys. The cars are historical. They're all significant in one way, shape, or form. Many, many of them have a huge amount of history. They've been driven by famous drivers in the past when they were new. They don't want those cars banged up. I don't want to bang them up. I don't want my Mustang banged up either. We're neck and neck. We're corner to corner going through the corners. Sometimes we're 2 abreast. Sometimes we're 3 abreast going through the corners. But we're all looking up to each other.